I was scared to share my story of being a survivor of domestic violence. It's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, when it comes to what you have done to choose to fight for your freedom, it takes strength for that. And other people are going to be encouraged. Other people are going to be inspired. Other people are going to connect with you now because of what you've gone through in a deeper way. Suppressed pain is not healed pain. When it comes to healing, we have to do the work to actually confront the pain. Everything that we do, everything that we see is through these red glasses that they represent our pain. God didn't bring you through what you have gone through just for you. He brought you through that storm so you can show other people what is possible. Hey, I'm Reverend Jocelyn, a minister of healing, speaker, and women's ministry coach. I grew my ministry from a simple blog to a national Christian trauma healing movement. And now I help women to answer their call to build purpose-driven ministries and businesses. Welcome to Reverend Jocelyn Talks, where healing meets purpose. Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to my show. It has been several months since we last spoke. I'm sorry. I've missed you. But let me tell you, I've been working so hard behind the scenes, building not only my trauma healing business, but also helping sisters to answer their call. And so I want to catch you up on all the things and tell you about our new platform that focuses on not only helping people to heal from their past, but we're also helping believers to turn their pain into purpose, which is what God has been doing in my life. Now, many of you have been following me for years now through my ministry, Faith on the Journey, which is still alive and well. We have a powerful Christian counseling ministry. We run Christian trauma healing trainings at churches and lead groups, and that still is thriving. But over the years, women have asked me, how have I been able to build my ministry? And so since the inception of Faith on the Journey, I've also developed a coaching arm for Christian women who feel called to build a ministry or purpose-driven business. And I decided to take this platform of the podcast to combine both of my loves, combine my passion for helping people to heal from trauma and my passion for coaching Christian women to answer their call, and put this concept together in this show where we'll share stories of testimonies of people who have healed from trauma or have navigated difficult seasons of their life, whether it's job loss, divorce, whether it is abuse, whatever they've gone through. We'll talk about that healing process, but we also have episodes that focus on talking about how women have been able to turn their pain into purpose to develop a powerful ministry or kingdom business that changes lives. And we're now calling the show Rev Jocelyn Talks, where I get a chance to talk with many amazing people about their journey, whether it's healing or building a ministry. So, still amazing content, still me showing up, sharing certain revelations and teachings that's going to encourage you, that's going to help you to grow in your faith, but also help you to take that next step if you feel like God is leading you to do something in this season to turn your pain into purpose. And so, with that, today it's just me and you having a conversation where I want to catch you up on some things that have taken place since our season finale. Now, for those of you who remember our season finale, it was me coming out with my story of being a survivor of domestic violence. Now, this episode, that was episode 163, When the Healer Needs Healing, was one in which I did not take lightly. A matter of fact, it was one in which I was so scared. I was scared to share my story because of many things. First, when I made the decision to walk away from an abusive marriage, there was a lot of shame. It was a lot of shame, if I'm transparent, because one of the many things that was running through my head at this time was first, I never thought I would be getting divorced. I mean, no one gets married to get divorced. I never thought I'd be in a situation, particularly because I had dreamed about being married for so long. I got married for the first time at age 39. It was something that I wanted so bad. So for me to make a decision to walk away from something that I almost, to be honest, idolized, it felt like a failure. And for me, it also was a tension between what my faith was, which, you know that marriage is a covenant, but also recognizing that God hates abuse. And for me, that tension of navigating it and thinking about what people say, what would people think about me? Rev Jocelyn, she leaves her marriage within like this short period of time. People judge me, not them not knowing what was really going on, that I had chose to walk away from an abusive situation. And so it was a good year of me working to recover from leaving the marriage and healing the trauma and working on rewriting this narrative that I had in my mind about being a failure, being ashamed, and recognizing that no, your story is powerful and you don't have to be embarrassed. It's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, when it comes to what you have done to choose to fight for your freedom, it takes strength for that. And other people are going to be encouraged. Other people are going to be inspired. Other people are going to connect with you now because of what you've gone through in a deeper way. You know, I think about even in my early 20s, I had this idea of always wanting to be perfect, always wanting to show up in society a certain way. And I remember I had experienced a really devastating, I'll describe it as a loss. And it was a time in my early 20s where I was dealing with a lot of shame from what I had gone through. I was dealing with some trauma from the situation. And I remember telling my girlfriend about what I was going through. And I was just so authentic and just vulnerable with her about the situation. And she told me something that I'll never forget. She says, "Jocelyn, I thank you for being open with me about what you've gone through, because for years I looked at you as being Miss Perfect. But hearing you go through this situation, it reminds me that you're human too." And at the time, I was like, "Huh, girl, I'm hurting over here." But what she said, it it hit me later, because my entire life up until that point, I was so guarded, wearing a mask to hide my pain, to hide what I was going through, that I never allowed people to see me struggle. I never allowed it. I would pretend. I would wear the "I'm too blessed to be stressed" t-shirt. So people didn't know I was going through. I was on a struggle bus. People didn't know because I wouldn't let them in. And I think as a society, that's something that we tend to do. We tend to, walk around saying, "I'm good, I'm fine, everything is good," because we're conditioned to say that, when in reality our dog died, we in it with our spouse, we can't stand our siblings or whoever. We got a lot going on, lost our job, holding on by a thread, but we're conditioned to say we're fine when we're not. I I share this because sometimes sometimes we got to be real about what we're going through, because in the realness, people are able to connect with you in a deeper way. And God can use your story as a way to minister to other people, as a testimony. The Bible talks about that in terms of people being able to be free by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. How powerful is that? And so let's talk about how we have a story. You've gone through some things. You've gone through maybe a divorce. Maybe you've gone through a job loss. Maybe you've gone through some abuse. Maybe you've gone through some things where you had an addiction that you were really ashamed of. And because of the shame, because of the guilt, because of maybe someone got hurt from what you've gone through, you you hide. You hide everything behind the mask. Maybe you hide your pain by doing certain things to make you feel better, whether it's retail therapy, maybe it's eating your pain away, maybe it's sex, maybe it's something else that you got going on to run from your pain. But let me tell you something, suppressed pain is not healed pain. And when we continue to hide our pain behind a mask, we're never able to experience healing and find freedom. And so, one of the things that I'm telling you right now is that when it comes to healing, we have to do the work. First and foremost, we have to do the work to actually confront the pain, confront it, face it, say, yeah, this thing hurt. I remember going through a counseling session. I stay in therapy. I'm team therapy all day. And I was meeting with my therapist, and one of the things that she asks me every session, she says, Jocelyn, what are you thinking? And what are you feeling right now? And I'm like, oh, she keeps asking me the questions around my feelings. And for me, I'm so used to being in my head around my thoughts. And I'm so used to rationalizing. And sometimes I can rethink and replay scenarios of what happened or what I should have done or what I could have done in my head. So I'm a head person a lot. And she's challenging me to get in touch with these feelings that I have. And some of these feelings, if I'm honest with you, these feelings, they're like, uncomfortable. Some of them are painful. Some of the feelings I much rather just sit in front of a TV and watch some, I will say even sometimes trash TV. Yes, there's those things that I watch. I'm like, why am I watching this? Like, this is so like me trying to escape from the reality of my situation. But again, suppressed pain is not healed pain. And you running away from it is not taking away the fact that what happened to you hurt. So we have to begin to peel back that onion, to peel it back, sis, and say, okay, this hurt. This happened to me, but I'm not going to keep running from it, because if I keep running from it, it's going to impact other areas of my life. Let me get an example for you, because this is so good for those who are watching YouTube. Let me get this for you. For those who aren't, I'll just describe it. So, I'm putting on these red glasses. And these red glasses, they represent what we have gone through as relates to our pain. Now, for some of us, because of what we've gone through, it's so painful. Everything that we do, everything that we see is through these red glasses that they represent our pain. So, if we've gone through an abusive relationship, we had a failed marriage, we experienced some type of loss, maybe we had a failure, a failed business. These red glasses represent the pain, and now everything that we experience or consider or do, we're seeing things through the lens of these glasses, and it's distorting our vision, and it's impacting our ability to see things for what they are. Instead, we see things as a threat versus seeing things as a potential opportunity, or seeing things as it relates to what God is trying to do in our lives. Some of us, we have these red glasses. Our vision is distorted, and God is saying, sister, not sister, I'm going to say daughter. God is saying, daughter, son, I need you. I need you to face what you've gone through. I need you to give this to me. I want you to experience healing and freedom, because if you spend your whole life seeing things through these red glasses that are distorted, if you spend your whole life being shielded, being armored, being like protecting yourself, never letting anybody in because you're afraid of being hurt, then eventually, yeah, you're not going to be hurt anymore, but you're never going to experience intimacy. You're never going to experience the things that you really want to have in terms of fulfillment because everything is seen through the lens of your pain. So I share this with you because we have to go through the process. The only way to the other side is through. The only way to really break through what you have gone through is to, as Dr. Diane Langberg says, the three T's: time, talking, and tears. It does take time to heal, but the other two T's matter as well. The talking about it, facing it, getting in touch with those emotions, and then the tears, the crying it out, this acknowledging this sucks, this hurts, facing it. But after you face it, this is when we get to the fun part. And I'm going to talk about that at the other side of this commercial break. So we'll be right back. Pastor, ministry leader, I see you. You love your people. You've prayed with them, baptized them, buried loved ones, and walked them through countless storms. But if you're honest, there are things happening in your congregation that feel bigger than you. You know that there are people in your pews carrying deep wounds from trauma and grief, abuse, violence, anxiety, and depression. And while your heart wants to help them, the truth is you don't have the training, the time, or the tools to carry it all. But here's the thing, that's not a failure, it's reality. And that's exactly why I created this resource for you. Hi, I'm Reverend Jocelyn from Faith on the Journey, a leading provider of Christian trauma-informed care and grief support. Over the past 7 years, we've served thousands of people across the country through our training, retreats, and Christian counseling. And now, I want to offer the same support to you. It's called the Trauma Healing Church Guide, and I'm giving it to you for free. Inside, you'll find a step-by-step roadmap to help your church become a trauma healing community. Guidance on training lay leaders, even those without formal counseling experience, is included in this guide. You'll learn how to educate your congregation about trauma in a biblically sound way and learn practical strategies for creating a safe, healing environment rooted in faith. Even if you only implement one of these recommendations in this guide, it can create a lasting shift in your ministry. So, if you're ready to reach those silently suffering in your congregation with biblical tools, practical support, and a path to healing, visit traumahealingchurch.com today to download your free guide. Your church can be a place where healing begins and hope is restored. Let's take this first step together today. Trauma healing! We're back, and we've been talking about this process of dealing with your stuff, facing our pain, not running from it, not suppressing it, but saying, hey, this thing hurt right here. I've gone through some things, but I want to give it to God. I want to do the work as relates to counseling. I want to face what I've gone through. So I'm no longer ashamed, but I'm able to move forward, experience healing. And in this healing process, the next stage is once we get to a point where we're no longer in bondage around what we've gone through, we no longer see that what happened to us defines us. When we understand that our identity is not tied up into what we did or who did something to us. No, 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 no. We're still valuable. And God is still able to use us. When we recognize that God is still able to use us through our story, then we get to the place where we see that we don't have to hide behind our story. we can stand. We can stand on our story. And that's the message. Because when we hide behind our story, we don't have the ability to reauthor or reclaim our story. See, in the reauthoring, in the reauthoring process, it's not like we look at what happened to us and we don't acknowledge the pain. It's not like we look at what happened to us and say, "Oh, that was good," because some things, no, it's not good. Abuse is not good. When someone, you know, gets into a devastating accident or like a natural disaster or whatever. No, the situation, we want to acknowledge the pain in that. So I'm not into toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing when it comes to someone's pain. However, even in acknowledging the pain of this situation, we can reauthor it by still saying, okay, even though that situation was traumatic or difficult or what however you want to describe it, I still see God's hand, because even though I was in the fire, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire, Jesus was that fourth man in the fire with them. And God was in the fire with you, who even in those moments when you felt like you were alone, even in those moments when you felt like, I don't understand, God, where are you? It's the footsteps in the sand. He was there. He was carrying you through it, even though you might not have been able to see it at that time. And God is able to reclaim your story and still use whatever you went through for good, for a greater good. And that's when we go to the word, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. When we understand that all things can work together, even those things that were painful. And when we're able to reauthor our story and say, yes, this did happen. This did happen. But this is something that God is able to use. And I am able to use to potentially birth a ministry, to share my story, to inspire someone else. I was sharing on my live simulcast when I talked about what took place after I came forward about being a domestic violence survivor. And when I became public, I had a sister reach out to me, and she had shared how she too had found herself in an abusive relationship. And she really felt like no one was going to believe her. And so when she reached out for help, and I told her, I said, "Hey, I believe you. And there's help and there's hope." We got her the support she needed. And a couple months later, she was able to leave that abusive situation, and she's doing so well. And she talked to me afterwards, and she talked about how thankful she was. And I'm like, "It's okay. I'm glad I was able to help you." And she said, "No, no, no. You don't understand why I keep telling you that I'm thankful." She said, "Listen, I was on the verge of taking my life, but I heard your story, and it encouraged me." And when she said that she heard my story, that kept her going. That essentially kept her from taking her life or stopped her from doing that. That showed me on a whole nother level how serious this is when it comes to God using our story to help someone else to be able to not only experience freedom, to not only experience healing, but for some, our story is going to help to save their life. The message I really want to drive home is, instead of hiding, I want you to stand. Stand on your story and be bold about what God has brought you through. You are more than a survivor. You're a thriver. You're resilient. And your testimony, your story is going to help other people to find freedom and to find healing. So I thank you for listening today. As the weeks go on, we are going to again, I'm going to be interviewing amazing people about their story of faith, about their story of healing, about their journey of breakthrough in building their ministry. So you definitely don't want to miss it. If you are someone who's seeking some healing resources, I encourage you to visit our website at faithonthejourney.org. And if you're a sister who feels called to ministry, go ahead and visit sisterstartyourministry.com and download a free ministry launch starter kit that's going to help you to build that transformative ministry. So if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button or make sure you follow me on whatever platform you're listening to on. And I thank you again for tuning in. I will see you next week, family. God bless you.